basically having a very calm conversation with him, probably trying to convince him to come in before someone gets hurt. But you know, they're not going to go out there and grab him. That's sort of not the plan right now.
Tom Fuentes, why wouldn't they just go out and grab him and wheel him in with that hook? Tom Fuentes, we lost him, but Shimon, why wouldn't they just grab him right now? They're pretty close. They could get that hook around him and just wheel him in.
I mean, it seems that way, but I will tell you, Wolf, it's pretty dangerous, right? I mean, if something goes wrong, they certainly don't want to be responsible for him basically dying. He falls, they don't want that on on them. If he decides to sort of let go and jump and do whatever, that's on him. But the point here is to end this safely and to just keep talking to him and to try and convince him to commit. But they're not going to force themselves on him. They're not going to, you know, sort of go out there and kind of, you know, push him in. Wolf, that's just not how they operate.
And you see how close they are. They're almost within touching distance. You know, they can clearly grab him and try to get him in there. Look at that hook. You can see that hook. It looks like they're trying to grab him with the hook, and he's resisting. Well, maybe not. He's still moving, but he's got limited options right now, this individual named Steve. Bryn Gingras is on the sidewalk below Trump Tower, 5th Avenue, near 57th Street in New York. Bryn, what are you seeing from your vantage point? What are you hearing?
Well, we're a little bit further back now, and we are now seeing him get a little bit closer to that 21st floor, Wolf, where police hostage negotiation teams continue to talk to him. Again, identified as a man named Steve from Virginia. And we also know on that first ledge of Trump Tower, there are one of those inflatable devices, as well as on the ground here on 56th Street between Madison and 5th Avenue here in New York. So as he's getting closer to
hold on for one moment. Bryn, Shimon is getting more information. What else are you learning, Shimon?
So I just wanted to share something that a source just told me about how what they're doing now, basically, they're continuing to talk to him. They're continuing to sort of negotiate with him, asking him what he wants, asking him, like, do you want to come in? What is your plan? And he's really not telling them much, except that he really wants to go to the top of the building. So as you can see, he's really, really close to them. They're not grabbing him right now. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that they have they took a photo of him. They have a pretty excellent photo. Here we go. So now it seems like the police have, well, at least they were trying to grab him. They're now asking him to sort of move to the right. But this is how they operate. This is what they do in these kinds of situations, certainly during when they're dealing with people who are suicidal and are on bridges or on sort of buildings. But here we go.
Looks like they got him right now. Looks like they're grabbing him. Let's just watch.
Wow. Well, there you go.
All right. He's inside. Yeah. All right, it's over. This guy is inside. You heard the crowd cheer. There was a big gasp, obviously, as the police grabbed him and they brought him inside. This is the 21st floor of Trump Tower. It's been going on for about 2 hours. This individual from Virginia named Steve, he announced on a YouTube video yesterday he was going to do this. He did it seeking publicity, presumably. We have no idea if he had any political motives or anything like that. Bryn, you're there on the scene. Bryn Gingras, she's just below Trump Tower. What's the mood down there? What are you hearing? What are you seeing?
Well, as you said, well, the crowd cheered when they pulled him in, and sort of gasped even a little bit, making sure that he actually got inside of that window. And now there's a number of police officers pushing the crowds away from this area. Obviously now this has become a somewhat cleared situation as far as the crowds are concerned. Their attention no longer on that window. We are hearing from police here on the scene that they will likely have some sort of news conference and tell us about this man's motives, exactly what he was doing, what was being said during those hostage during those negotiations with police, rather. So that's what we're waiting for, is getting word on when that will start, just to learn a little bit more information about what this man was doing.
Shimon, these are NYPD special operatives, is that right?
Well, they're called the Emergency Service Unit. I mean, the training that they go through is just incredible. And this is what they do, right? This is sort of their job. Their job is to sort of deal with these kind of what they call high-angle rescues And they're also trained negotiators. This is sort of what they do. This happens a lot in New York City. And so, yeah, they're with the emergency service unit. They climb bridges, they climb buildings. They're also, in many cases, the first officers that you see sometimes in active shooting situations with big guns and helmets and those large vests. So they do everything. I mean, this is the elite of the NYPD, and this is what they do. Quite often in New York City.
Well, you got to give them an enormous amount of credit. They ended this situation, which could have ended very, very differently, successfully. They grabbed this individual after 2 hours and they brought him inside. You know what? Let's show our viewers once again the conclusion of this climb. All right, there it is. You saw the conclusion, successful conclusion. He is now, I assume he's going to be arrested and charged. I have no idea what the crime is going to be, but I'm sure there'll be multiple charges against this individual. Shimon, you've got more information about how they've identified him as well, right?
So you'll see the photo. So a source just shared that with me. That's a photo that a police officer took from inside the building. That's him. So what they're doing now is they're using facial recognition software. The sort of NYPD intelligence division has this software, and they're doing a full workup on him. And this is one of the ways in which they're identifying him is through the facial recognition software.
Yeah.
And in terms of the charges, Wolf, I mean, he's going to probably face some reckless endangerment charges and trespassing charges. But I also think one of the things they're going to do is probably take him to the hospital, possibly for some kind of a psych evaluation. Because it just, something's a little off here. So, I mean, they're going to treat him well. They'll take him to the hospital. And then eventually we'll figure out what he's going to be charged with.
I'm sure he's going to be charged with some serious charges. Given the concern that this is a presidential nominee, the Trump Tower, this is where Donald Trump lives, his family is there, so it caused an enormous amount of concern. Let's go back to Bryn Gingras. She's down on 5th Avenue, right below Trump Tower. What else are you seeing right now, Bryn?
Well, at this point, Wolf, really just there's about 50 or so cops just on the corner where I am, 56 and Madison, just trying to disperse these crowds and actually let this afternoon rush hour traffic get through this area. We're also seeing, as far as from the press are concerned, we're seeing everyone set up for that news conference we're expecting to hear from the NYPD. Right now, emergency vehicles are continuing to just sort of leave the area, and presumably that man is still upstairs with police. We haven't seen anyone walk out of Trump Tower at this point, but right now it's more about getting everyone away from this area so police can continue their business here on the scene.
Yeah, you're going to have to give the NYPD lots of kudos for a successful, peaceful conclusion to what could have been a very, very different conclusion. Shimon, they're going to still have to answer some questions about how this individual got onto the 5th floor, got outside, and just simply started climbing this building.
Oh, yeah, and that's already underway. I mean, so the NYPD has made a point of securing this building. They know it's a target. They certainly know it's a terrorist target. This is going to change how they protect that building. And with the ease in which he did it, and, Wolf, you were saying earlier about copycats, yeah, others are now going to, potentially try to do this. And so the NYPD, no doubt, is going to go back and look at the security in the building, and you'll probably start seeing police officers patrol sort of the 5th floor of that building, or something will be done to make sure that this doesn't happen. Look, it's pretty inventive here, I think, and creative of this guy to use suction cups, and really how do you protect against that? So I think what they're going to do is set police officers on that 5th floor and probably just keep an eye on more people that come into that building. But the building is very secure. So the NYPD is in charge of sort of the exterior security, and they protect the outside, and then, Secret Service does its thing. But, you walk by that building, there are police officers with long guns, helmets, and those heavy ballistic vests every day. There's several of them that patrol that building. And, that building is heavily, heavily protected. So no doubt there's going to be a lot of questions, and I think the NYPD is going to be quick to come up with some answers.
Yes, heavily protected as Trump Tower is, and you're absolutely right, it's about to get even more heavily protected. CNN's Ryan Nobles is also on the scene. You saw this unfold from your vantage point. Ryan, what did you see? What did you hear?
Yeah, well, that was at the corner of 56th and Madison, basically right behind Trump Tower, where the climber was scaling the side of the wall. And he was hanging right on the corner there. It was just a huge crush of people on the street trying to get as close as they can to the building to see what was happening. And then he was hanging there, and then all of a sudden you could see the first responders reach out and grab him and pull him in. What seemed like a standoff for quite a while ended pretty quickly, and then you heard pretty loud cheers from people here on the streets of New York. It's a wild scene right now. There's so many people walking around, looking up into the sky, hoping to catch a glimpse of it. Obviously, a huge crush of media and law enforcement. The law enforcement was making a big effort to keep people as far away from the tower as they could, and at the same time still allow the flow of traffic. This is obviously a busy time of the day in New York City. But the moment he was swept up into the building, you heard a big cheer from the folks here on the ground here in New York City, Paul.
This was clearly a dangerous operation for those NYPD special operators who grabbed him. This could have turned out very differently for the climber as well as for the police, who could have potentially been thrown out that window as well. I know they had all sorts of protective devices, ropes around them, but this could have ended very differently. Once again, we got to give a lot of credit to the NYPD for successfully ending this situation. Let me show it to viewers who may just be tuning in right now. This is how it all ended.